So if you're not lifting an arm against your country, if you're sitting in a cafe unarmed, you should be arrested like any other criminal, but you can't be killed with a targeted missile strike. And the president's been asked directly about this, and he's evaded the question. He has not answered, are you going to target American citizens on American soil? He said, well, we might have different rules outside than inside. And I say, for goodness sakes, you better, but I really can't conceive of targeting Americans.
That was Republican Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky speaking moments ago right here on America Live, explaining his 13-hour filibuster yesterday to protest the Obama administration's controversial drone policy. Senator Paul's stand for due process is sparking a fierce debate over whether President Obama has the legal power to kill an American on U.S. soil without arrest or charges. And now some Republicans are asking whether the senator was even asking a fair question or whether it was, in fact, offensive. Bernard Whitman is a former pollster for President Bill Clinton and CEO of Whitman Insight Strategies. And Ben Ferguson is with the Icon Radio Network and the host of The Ben Ferguson Show. So the senator was happy to hear that the actual response now issued by the Attorney General is the president does not have the authority to use a drone to kill an American not engaged in combat on American soil. And he was very happy that that was the answer. So there's no authority to use a drone to kill an American not engaged in combat here on American soil. Why did we just have this huge dust-up with this long filibuster so we could get this?
You should have asked.
This one line from Eric Holder after he wrote another letter. What's going on here, Bernard?
Megan, I think the last thing the American people need is another example of why our system of government does not work properly. So that Rand Paul, one senator out of 100, can hold up the nation's business for an entire day so he can get an answer to a question that, frankly, shouldn't be publicly debated. I don't know why or when the American people have somehow believe, and I don't think that they do, but certainly this senator does, that we should have a discussion and a debate about defense and national security policy aired before the entire public. That is something that is supposed to be classified and confidential, and we are in fact at a time of war against enemy combatants. So I don't understand why we should have that public debate.
Before you get your way in, yes, okay, the Patriot Act and so on, and President Bush, national security ranked much higher on the list of Americans' priorities back then than it does now. Right now, they care about the economy, they care about jobs, they care about the deficit, they care about spending. I mean, they care about cell phone use in public. I'm trying to think of what else is on the list, but this was not on it.
But this was a simple question asked weeks ago that should have been able to be answered because it was not an issue of national security. It was an issue of if Bob's sitting down the street and he's having a cup of coffee, do you have the right to kill him with a drone strike? That, to me, is a simple enough question that should have been answered with this letter 6 weeks ago, and we would have never gotten here. The point is, this is what the American people don't like. They don't like that the people in charge think that they somehow don't have to answer basic questions that they should be able to ask, and somehow if they don't want to answer it, then you're somehow not an American, you're not a patriot, and you don't understand national security. And I think the question he asked was totally fair game. It wasn't national security.
So he's gotten the answer that he wants, Bernard, but let me ask you this. Do you believe it? Do you believe that Eric Holder or President Obama will feel bound to this piece of paper if some terrorist, somebody they believe is a terrorist, is sitting in a Starbucks and there are 15 other people sitting in that Starbucks who are law-abiding citizens, but that guy's about to walk out with a bomb, and there's only one way of taking him out, they believe, and that's to kill some other innocents in order to protect hundreds or thousands of others.
That person would be classified, I suspect, by the military and by the administration as someone that is engaged in enemy combatant
But the
activity.
others around him will be innocent Americans not posing an imminent threat.
Right, that's correct. In any type of military attack, you always have to weigh the risk to the troops and the risk of civilian casualties. And I think that the administration has done an excellent job. The drone program is an extraordinary success. We've been able to decimate the leadership of al-Qaeda. Have there unfortunately been casualties among civilians? Yes. Are those casualties among civilians worth the reduced risk of threat to our troops and other civilians? Absolutely.
But so far it's been mostly al-Qaeda or non-American civilians.
This is the part that I think is the hypocrisy of this administration. These are the same guys that said we need to give rights to terrorists in this country and try them. Remember in New York, that wasn't long ago. But now they act as if this type of question is somehow ridiculous or should be off limits, when they were actually advocating for treating known terrorists who were in fact threats to America, who in fact plan to kill Americans as American citizens.
Well, you know, this is why some people actually believe that Rand Paul may have hurt the Republican brand yesterday, because they say he made President Obama, look tough on terror. Which Democrats have struggled to appear.
Not recently. 4 in 5 Americans actually approve of the drone program. The public is decidedly behind the president.
But
why?
Because
it ultimately saves lives and it protects Americans. And look, I don't think any of us want to think about the fact that someone could be killed by a drone strike while sitting in a cafe. I think the odds of that happening, if someone engaged in that, is very, very low. But the fact is, if there's an imminent threat that could lead to catastrophic loss of life, then maybe that might be actually necessary.
And if that person is
American, there's still a commitment, and that letter is not going to save you, nor should it.
Ben?
I think it's a legitimate question that should have been asked, and I think more importantly, the people that are asked about drones have an argument of dealing with it outside the United States of America. You ask about inside America, and I guarantee you 80% of Americans would not be in favor of someone being able to be targeted that's an American citizen sitting in a Starbucks. I don't think 80% would go there.
Folks about split on that, but I think if they understood the risk,
like,
I think that
we
they
need
would
yet another
it.
thing to worry about, right? It's like just to add to your list, like cancer, and now what's that? What's that? Kelly's Court is next. Thank you.